Welcome once again to Let's Talk Safe Money with Len Strickler, 𝗯𝗏𝗏 of the LSF Capital Group. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Gentlemen, how you both doing today?
Doing great, man. How about you, Art?
Good to see you, 𝗯𝗏𝗏, Len Strickler. Fantastic. Len, what's on your mind this week?
You know, I'd really like to talk about creating income. How do we create income? That's a big thing.
Fantastic idea. So that's what we're going to do throughout today's program. How do you create an income stream when you've turned off your income? We use that word a lot in the retirement planning. Your income. But first time I heard that, listening to financial advisors like yourselves, I was like, what do you mean income? I don't have a job anymore. What about the creating the income plan is so important to you, Len?
Well, I mean, you mentioned it. You know, right now, when people are in retirement, they're not putting money in anymore, right? So we've got to talk about the income. You know, what kind of income are you going to get coming down this? We talk about the mountain, right? We've talked about that quite a bit. But if you're going to go up and climb Mount Everest, what is the goal? I say this in my workshops, and people always go, to get to the top. Well, yeah, that's true, but we got to get down the mountain safely, don't we?
Yes.
When we're going up that mountain, you're in the accumulation stage. That's when you're younger. You're putting that money in that 401k. And it's just, or you always say that.
Well, I always like to add to that.
Yeah.
The real important part of that accumulation phase is you're putting money in, let's say automatically, every 2 weeks, let's say your paycheck, it's going in automatically. Now, the market, if it goes down that week, what are you doing? You're still putting that money in and you're buying low. So it's actually a good thing to have a volatile market during the accumulation phase, because you're going to be buying some low, and then it's going to come back, and now maybe one other time you're going to be down again, you're going to buy low. So that's a totally different story.
And that's where most financial advisors, us included, that's where we've been trained, right, in that accumulation stage. But here's the thing, when you get to the top of that mountain and you got to get down, it's a whole different paradigm shift, Spike. You don't care as much about the return on your income. You want a return of your income, okay? Now you need income. And so we got to figure out, how do we help folks coming down that mountain?
And then, of course, how do we do it safely, as the program here says? So do we keep our money in those retirement accounts? Is that where we want to start? Or the day that we go to retirement, are we turning on our Social Security? Or are we using something like maybe an annuity? Hopefully we started 5 years beforehand. Let's start with, how do we put together that entire income pie?
Yeah, well, one of the things you mentioned is Social Security. That's always a big, big question to everybody coming in to see us, if they haven't turned it on already, is should they turn it on when they're, 65 or 66 now, full retirement age? And, it's not that simple. You don't just say yes. There's a number of things you have to look at. Kind of the simplest way, you look at two things. What's their family longevity? If people are their parents live to their 90s, or, then there's a good chance they're probably going to live to a longer
We had a guy come in not long ago, you remember? And he told us, he said, in my family, men have this certain disease, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And none of them lived past like 65 or 70. I mean, it's right in that range.
So it's automatic.
And for him, it was like,
on.
turn it on, right? So it's a good point,
So that's the first thing we look at. But then the second thing is, do they have other assets that they've saved for, through their lifetime? I mean, hopefully that's what they're here to see us. And can we take from those assets and let their Social Security bump up 8% every single year, until they're 70? And that would be the goal. So that's a question we always have. That's the first thing we want to look at when we put a plan together. And we may show them two different plans. We may show them one where they turn it on, at age 66. And take less money from their retirement. But then again, if we see there's enough assets, then we may start taking it from the retirement money and hold off on the Social Security.
And that makes a big difference too, doesn't it, Art? Coming down that mountain, right, is where do you take that money from, right? What account?
Which accounts and which accounts first?
Absolutely. Unbelievable. And I'm telling you, some of the graphs that we've seen, what is that Monte Carlo?
There's a Monte Carlo system we have where we put in all their assets, and then we say, okay, they're retiring now, we need X amount of dollars to come out, and it runs through a scenario of taking it from the Roth or taking it from the traditional IRA or their 401k or their brokerage account, and it'll do thousands of simulations and come up and give us the solution. Okay, it's best to start here, taking it out of the IRA and and so on. And it could add 4 or 5 years to their length of time that their money's going to last. So that's another thing that we do that's very,
it's letting the math win and using those calculations.
Exactly.
I want to go back a little bit, though, on Social Security. We talk about it maybe once or twice a year. Are any of the candidates, has anybody come through this election cycle and been talking about how they want to fix Social Security? Are you guys concerned about it running out? Because you talked about letting it grow, that extra 8% from full retirement age, plus you get the cost of living adjustment if there is one. So I mean, you could be talking a 10, 11% swing of just letting it grow.
Right.
But the vast majority of Americans take their Social Security at full retirement age. Do you ever see anybody who does let it grow to its max?
Oh, we do, sure. If they have enough assets, and again, they have that longevity in the family, they probably would let it go. I mean, that would make sense to me, but is Social Security going to be around? What was the year they're saying, 2030 or
2033?
2033, they're supposed to run out of money.
Yeah.
I do have some faith in the government here that we may
You do? I'm sorry, I don't want to get into that.
We may see some way that they're going to save it, I don't think that they're going to harm any of the people that are actually on Social Security now.
They would have a revolt. I mean, there was senators and
but the people that are, in the waiting period to start turning on their Social Security may see some changes to who's going to take it, when they're going to take it, how much they're going to get, and so on. So, but so it is a concern. So, hopefully we can have other assets that, can replace it if we had to. But
from your guys' seats, how many people who usually come into your office or come to the live events have already turned on their Social Security, or are they oftentimes right on the cusp?
I would say most of them have, because we deal with people 55 to 80, and it just seems a lot of them come in, they're in their 70s, and they've already started.
All right, so it's part of the income stream already, and then you'll continue to work with the rest of the assets out of there. Len, I know you like your props. You got a prop sitting right out in front of you. We're going to go out to break here. What exactly is that? How do our viewers get one?
This is my new book, folks. It's called Way of the Financial Warrior. I'm a 6th-degree black belt, so what I did was I took some of the concepts that I learned in the martial arts, and I put it in the book. It's a fun read. All you got to do come in and see us, right? You see the number there. We'll be more than happy to give you a copy. I'll even sign it, and I'll actually do a sidekick on art.
Yeah, which he does. He calls me the uki.
That's in Japanese. That's dummy. No, it means assistant. Go ahead.
Folks, you can get your own complimentary copy of Len's new book, Way of the Financial Warrior, just by calling the phone number below and making an appointment. Come on in, sit down with Len and Art. Let's figure out how we can create your income stream for retirement, and most importantly, an income stream that you can't run out of in retirement. So call that number. When we come back, we're going to answer the question, do most people spend more or less in retirement? When we get back, right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Safe Money with Len Strickler, Art Ardithanis, co-founders of LSF Capital right here in South Florida. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. We're talking about some of the things that we want to be aware of when it comes to creating an income plan in retirement. It's not just having the 401k itself or having investments. Is that an income plan itself?
Well, it is an income plan. That's the whole design of it from when you start working through your career is to put money in for retirement. And that's usually the main place that most people come in to see us are going to get their retirement money.
But does your 401k provider tell you how much you're supposed to be able to take out and how to take off risk as you get deeper into retirement?
No, they're not really telling you anything. They don't even tell them what they're supposed to invest in.
They don't even know what they're in a lot of times.
Right.
We have people who say, I don't even know I was in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just having those investments and having those assets, it's not just enough to know that you've got the savings. You got to figure out how to spend it. So before the break, I said I was going to answer the question, do people spend more or less in their retirement years?
You know, it's interesting. They did, I think it was Deutsche Bank did a study, and they asked that question, are you spending more or less in retirement? And 78% of the folks came back and said they're spending as much or more in retirement. And why is that, you think, Art?
Well, one of the things is that their deductions are gone.
Deductions are
right?
gone.
I mean, when you're putting money in your 401k, what are you getting? You're getting a tax deduction every dollar you got putting in there. So when you retire, you're not putting money in a 401k, right? You're taking it out, so you lose that deduction.
Pay off your home.
Most people, when their home is paid off by the time they retire, hopefully, and they lose that tax deduction on the interest. So.
And the other thing is, every day Saturday.
Well, that's it too. Yeah.
they spend more, right? What do you do?
Yeah.
You can only golf so much, right?
Yeah.
But no, you know they do. They actually spend more, and a lot of travel. We see people Spike. You know, wherever those grandbabies are, the wife's going to get there, whether she's got to fly or run or take a bus.
Yeah.
So the travel, we see travel budgets that go up.
And that's usually the bucket list kind of thing for most people.
And we help them with that,
travel.
by the way.
Yeah.
With our plan, we do a complete plan, right? A comprehensive plan. Folks, you can come in and see us. We'll take all these things into account for you. And there's no charge for it.
And that's a question we ask. What's your bucket list? You
Yeah.
know, do you have something special you want to do? You want to buy some kind of vacation home? You know, that's going to have to come.
Art, you remember the lady that I think you and Eric had, right? A lady that came in and she wanted to go on a cruise around the world, right?
Yeah.
With her mother.
With her mother. It was $150,000. We had to calculate where's that going to come from.
Yeah.
And once we take that out, is she going to have enough money?
And that's what she wanted. She said, guys, can you help me if I take this money out? Help me with my plan. Do I have enough still to go the rest of the distance? So that we did it. We helped her do that. And she did have enough money, and I guess they're going on a cruise.
Yeah.
And that is great. And we do want you to check off those things from that bucket list. And that probably happens earlier in the retirement years. What about costs later in the retirement years? Are we looking at home upkeep costs, the healthcare costs, taxes, RMDs? What are you more concerned about?
In Florida, Art, and here,
homeowner insurance.
It's unbelievable.
You know, let's go back maybe 5 years, and the average home in our area, Fort Lauderdale area, you might pay $800 a year for your homeowner, maybe larger house, a couple of thousand. Now we're up at $6,000, $7,000 for any home, any small little home in Fort Lauderdale, and $10,000, $12,000.
And if you're by the water,
insurance.
If you're near the water, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous.
So a lot of people are trying to just pay their home off so they don't have to have that insurance. You know, because they have to have it with the home, for if they have a mortgage. That's a big thing that we have to look at and watch.
The real estate costs. Then we go to the healthcare costs. Sure, you have Medicare. We've talked a lot about long-term care and different programs, but there's a lot of things that Medicare doesn't cover that eventually you have to end up paying out of pocket. Right. When they said something like a couple that reaches the age of 65 together, I think that the numbers have gone up. You'll spend over $395,000 out of pocket on your own healthcare costs.
I've seen that, yes.
So that's on top of your Medicare.
On top of the Medicare, that is something you got to take into account.
But Medicare planning is a big thing. You should have the right plan, and that's something we do have a specialist.
We have a specialist in our office.
But a lot of people are just these Advantage plans. They'll say, well, hey, there's no fee. It doesn't cost me anything, and I get vision.
Dental,
and I get dental. But you're limited to certain doctors and certain hospitals. I like to be able to go anywhere I want, any doctor, any hospital, and have it covered. And that's what I have, with a Medicare supplement. And I find it pretty inexpensive to have that.
Yeah.
So that's
have the
something
same
that,
thing. We both
yeah,
have
we
the
both
same
do.
thing.
My wife has. So that's important. And you know, my wife just had cataract surgery. She had one eye done, and each time she went, it was $20,000 for cataract surgery, and I think it was a 20-minute procedure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
unbelievable.
The things that Medicare doesn't cover that, you know, we call it the unexpected expenses, but can we expect some of those unexpected expenses? Do you help with the income plan to kind of build for some of those pools of money that we're going to need later in retirement? You know, it's not all invested
not
exactly
right.
the same way. We've got early money we're spending, middle and maybe the 20, 30-year
we call
money.
that, what do we call that? You said the go-go years?
Yeah,
the
your
slow
go-go years, yeah.
And the no-go
and the
years.
no-go years. And with all this operations I've had, I'm getting close to the no-go.
Yeah, you're definitely in the slow go.
I'm definitely in the slow go. He helps me all the time. Anyway, but that is important. You know?
Yeah, just those medical costs, and then everything from the subscriptions. We know that we're coming up upon the Medicare enrollment season. You said you've got somebody in the office.
Absolutely.
Because come on, this time of year down in South Florida, the commercials, it gets crazy.
Oh,
they're over every other commercial is something on Medicare. So how do you know who you can trust when it comes to those commercials?
That's why we have somebody that does Maria. She's awesome. She does a great job. She knows this. She's been doing it a long time. And so we have her on board. And you're right. Part of that planning process, right? You've got to look at these things. You got to look at healthcare in the future, and also what she does is help them select the right plan, right? Because really, they make it really complicated, and it's not as complicated as it really sounds. But they're all out there selling, right? But she helps them, and she gets in there with some of these older folks. Bless her heart, man. She'll go to their home and help them. I mean, she's really good.
Yeah. So if you're looking for some help during this Medicare enrollment season, always know that you can call the office here. You can set up an appointment. Before we go out to break here, on a perspective of what exactly our team does here at LSF Capital, just want to ask Len and Art together here, holistic approach planning. We're just talking about Medicare, a little bit on taxes. Our program today is on income planning. That's a lot, right? It's not just about the investments when we put together that written plan.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it is. That's why we call it a comprehensive plan. I mean, it takes a lot of things into it. Art.
Right. You know, the main thing that we talk about it a lot is that gap. You know, you have your Social Security coming in. You might have that pension, and then how much do you need? And does the Social Security and your pension cover what you need? If it doesn't, we have a gap.
Right.
So then we have to calculate, do you have enough assets to withdraw that income to cover that gap every year?
Yep.
And hopefully we can maybe put you into one of the guaranteed income plans that we would have with the annuity, where that gap is guaranteed the rest of your life to fill in. Then you're home free. Right. And your what is it, play checks?
Yeah, right.
And then on your
paychecks
I did
and your play
with
checks.
Tom Hagno. He's an economist and a really good author. And anyway, I did some contributing to his book called Paychecks and Playchecks. But you're right. We want to make sure we get your floor, right, your paycheck. We want to make sure we can cover that, no gaps. And then after that, you got your paycheck. You know, go somewhere. Go
have some fun.
Go gamble if you want. I don't know.
And it might sound complicated, but this is exactly what the team does here at LSF Capital every single day in the offices, is creating that income plan that you can't run out of. Let's make sure you got that floor and that base, and then what is the lifestyle that you want to design. If you don't have an income plan like that and a complete written financial plan, call the phone number down here on the bottom of the screen. You can claim your spot right now. Folks are standing by. It'll go to our secure call center, and we will schedule an appointment for you with Len and Art of Let's Talk Safe Money. And when you make that appointment, you'll get a complimentary copy of Len's new book, Way of the Financial Warrior. You'll get that just for coming in. What is the perspective on how we do things in the office? Don't go anywhere. That's what this message is about. We'll be right back.
Imagine not having to face your retirement journey with the same old corporate solutions just like everyone else. In these economic times, you deserve a fresh perspective that includes a personalized income plan and a tax map from independent fiduciary advisors who focus on you. Call the number that you see here. Schedule your complimentary review right now.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Safe Money with Len Strickler and Art Athenas of LSF Capital. You know I always like to ask you guys kind of stories on how you help people in the office. You also have your financial planner, Eric, who you're shadowing with, and we're growing here. How about somebody who's come in recently who you've helped build an income plan?
We had a couple come in about 2 weeks ago, and from our workshop. We get quite a few folks come in from our workshops. By the way, folks, you can go to our website, LSF Capital, go to the events section up on the screen there, and we got them all over South Florida, right? We're doing a number of them every month, so you can check that out. But anyway, they came in, and she had a good 401k. She had quite a bit of money in a 401k, and he was a teacher, right? What he did is he was doing his own thing, right? So he had his money, he was in the market, so we asked him, where's your risk? What kind of risk do you want to take? Well, she said, I don't want any risk. I lost money in 2008. I don't want to lose any money, right? Mm-hmm. So I was, okay, well, that's pretty easy. We can fix that. But he jumps in and says, well, wait a minute. I don't want to do all that with the money. I'd like to do some investing with the money. And so we had this dialogue going back and forth, right? So anyway, eventually what we were able to do is we did come up with a plan that we could integrate what he wanted and what she wanted, right? So we agreed on a portion of the money to be safe, okay? Because his risk factor was pretty high. But we got it down to where they both agreed that they said, okay, well, 10% is about all we want to, risk. Yeah. And then we built a plan.
And then a week later, the NASDAQ went down 1,000 points.
No, actually, that's the truth. Yeah. And I said, Eric, call him quick.
Yeah, and was he happy that you were looking at taking off risk?
Well, we definitely cut some of the risk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Is this more commonplace that between couples, we've got two different risk factors?
Yeah, it is. That's quite common, actually. Yeah. And usually, most of the women, okay, not saying anything negative about women, but most women, because they take care of things and they think a little bit different than us guys.
That's for sure.
And they want things tightened up. They don't like a lot of risk. Okay, most of the women we talk to, but the guys come in and
I will take that a step further, Len. And there are many studies out there that say women make better investors. They do more research. They stick to a plan. They know how much risk they do or do not want to take. And here's another number. You say a couple that reaches the age of 65 together, that there's a 92% chance that the woman is going to be 100% in charge of the finances at some point in their lives. The reason I bring that up is, isn't it even more important for our women viewers to be doing retirement planning? Yep. They live longer, usually have less contributions from work saving because they've been taking care of the family, at least the past 3 or 4 decades. Now there's a lot more in the workplace, but they have less savings that go into their own Social Security. It seems almost dire that women alone need to be doing their retirement planning.
It's interesting. Just a kind of a side note, I'm going to do another book, okay, and I'm going to start it in November. Hope to have it out next year. But this is really on my heart. It's just something that I'm passionate about. I saw my grandmother struggle so much. I told you we came from the projects of Philly, right? I'm the oldest of 8, and she kept food on the table. But I got to tell you, my next book, I want to do women and their wealth. I want to talk about, how do women, what do they do? How do they start off? How do they protect their money? Really start to get into, helping women, self-defense. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of self-defense.
We've got to bring the self-defense back.
Of course. Yeah. But I did a lot of self-defense for women. I did a lot of classes. I taught a lot of women. And so I'd like to be able to help them in their finances. So it'd be kind of a sequel to the...
And we do have a lot of women come in, single women.
Well, and again, you said something earlier, Spike. Women control a lot of the money now. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're in the world. They've moved up now in management places and whatnot, and they control a lot of money.
In fact, they've talked about how the baby boomer generation has amassed trillions and trillions of dollars in assets, not only in investments, but also investments like real estate and so forth. And that money in the next 30 to 35 years is going to transfer, they say, to the next generation, maybe Gen X and even the grandkids. Mm-hmm. But first, it will very likely transfer over to the spouses. And just a handful of things we want to make sure we review with the estate planning. The beneficiaries, having wills, having trusts, the medical directives, all of it. Again, the holistic approach is making sure that we've got all of those bases covered.
Absolutely.
Estate planning, who do we use as I think we've talked about it before. It's one of the spokes in the wheel that you have for the holistic approach.
Absolutely. You know, I talk about, you know, a circle, and in the center of that circle is LSF Capital. And then spokes off of that, we have alliances and partnerships, right? One of them is we have a estate and a trust attorney. And, you know, he'll come in sometimes and do some, with our workshops, he'll do a little session for us. But, yeah, we have all those bases covered. And, again, Carrie on board inside that circle, we do have a CFP and a CPA. We get a lot of help. We just had somebody recently that came into some money, about $1.8 million. And they were like, well, what do I do? Right? It was a house. Matter of fact, it was an old home that they bought down in the Keys. They bought it for like $300,000, and the thing is sold for $1.8 million. So here they are with all this money now, right? And so they said, what am I doing? I'm going to pay a lot of taxes. So we called Carrie right there in the meeting. Yeah. Eric and I called her up, and we got her, and she was able to start to help them. So she's going to do a plan. She's going to meet with them personally, but she did give them some ideas. Go back and get all the improvements that you've made over there. That's 35 years, a lot of improvements. All those we can take off as deductions. So she started helping them get that tax bill down just on the phone. Mm-hmm. And then she said, I'll do an analysis for you, and we'll get this bill down, you know. But there's going to be a bill, but at least we can mitigate some of that.
But it's a big asset having a CPA on our staff.
Absolutely.
And co-founder.
And the trust, you know, again, one of the spokes, we do have an attorney. So, yeah, we have a lot of folks that we do that are part of that, our whole circle.
Yeah. Lastly, we started out the program talking about putting together an income plan. Once they've got the peace of mind of having this income plan together, what do you see more often? People underspending their income or overspending their income? Do they get to enjoy that plan that you put together?
From my opinion, I think most of them are underspending.
I agree.
And,
I agree.
You know, we show them what they asked for. If you know, they may want $6,000 a month, and okay, you have it. There's no problem. You're not going to run out of money based on what we're looking at. And but they could afford $9,000, but they just want to stick to that plan, that $6,000.
And a lot of them want to pass it on to the kids.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, legacy
and I
planning.
say, hey, wait a minute, hold on. It's your money. You go to the golf, you know, go to the country club. You get the boat.
Yeah.
You're going to be gone, and guess what? The kids are going to go to the golf course and they're going to get the boat.
Yeah, let Len and Art help you put together your income plan. Spend it, enjoy it. You work your entire life for it. Call that phone number below so you can get started on your own income plan. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back next week.